US Secretary of State Antony Blinken held talks with the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan today, part of efforts to prevent the Israel-Hamas conflict from escalating. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is also scheduled to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Al Ulfa before proceeding to Israel. Now, this marks Blinken's fourth trip to the region since the conflict initiated with Hamas attacking the southern Israel Strip on 7th of October. And for more on Antony Blinken's trip to the Middle East, DD India's Trent Murray is reporting from Tel Aviv.
Well, the Israeli Defence Forces reported intensive fighting within southern Gaza overnight, saying that it struck 30 significant targets, in its words, belonging to Hamas, including weapons depots, underground infrastructure, as well as buildings being used by the militant group. But while that fighting takes place, we do know that UN agencies are continuing to warn about the escalating humanitarian crisis. The WHO has said today that it was forced to cancel a medicine delivery to northern Gaza overnight after initially being given security guarantees. It says it's now been 12 days since it's been able to reach northern Gaza. That particular part of the strip is now under operational control of the Israeli army. They say there are still some sporadic attacks there by Hamas militants, but they believe they have now dismantled the broader military framework within that part of the north. Of course, while there's a lot of focus on the battlefield, we also know in the diplomatic arena there is much activity taking place, with the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken currently in this region, not only getting ready to talk to the Israelis, but also having discussions with other regional heavyweights like Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar. We understand there are three main focuses as part of those discussions, including the immediate situation on the ground in Gaza, with many of those governments calling on Washington to use its influence to get Israel to announce a ceasefire, but also discussions about what happens next, the day after the war, if you will. Washington would certainly like to see some of Israel's neighbours like Jordan and Egypt play a stronger role in the governance of Gaza moving forward, potentially even helping set up a technocratic government that would not involve Hamas. That is simply a red line for the Israeli government. And also, just briefly, the broader concern here about this conflict escalating. We know in Lebanon there's been continued rocket fire from the Lebanon-based Hezbollah group. The IDF is now saying it's launched its own strikes on those launch sites within Lebanon. It comes as many here hope that the diplomacy can be dialed up in order to try and dial down the tensions.
That was DD India's Trent Murray reporting to us from Tel Aviv. Now, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said that the intensity of the offensive in Gaza signaled his country's determination to destroy the terrorist group Hamas that rules the enclave and deter other potential Iran-backed adversaries, including Hezbollah in Lebanon. Yoav Gallant wrote, "My basic view, we are fighting an axis, not a single enemy." He told this to the Wall Street Journal. He added, Iran is building up military power around Israel in order to use it. Now, the Israeli troops have struck 30 significant Hamas targets in Khan Yunis. As per the Israeli Defense Forces, the locations were used as terrorist infrastructure and weapon storage facilities. The army also identified 10 terrorists and directed a UAV that targeted them in the area. The troops also tracked down a weapon containing vehicle and a tunnel shaft belonging to Hamas in central Gaza. Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock on Sunday announced that Germany will allow deliveries of the Eurofighter jets to Saudi Arabia. The Eurofighter is a joint venture of Britain, Germany, Spain and Italy. Addressing a conference in Jerusalem, Minister Baerbock called on Israel to do more to protect civilians in Gaza.
It is becoming more and more clear. Israel army must do more to protect civilians in Gaza. It must find a way to fight Hamas without so many people dying or to be injured. The suffering of so many innocent people cannot go on like this. We need a less intensive operation.
Wir brauchen eine
On to Europe now. As the front line in Ukraine shows little movement, Russia continues to strike urban areas. My colleague Julia Chapman is in London. She gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Julia, over to you now.
That's right, Tanvi. Ukraine says 4 people were injured in a Russian missile strike on Monday in the city of Zaporizhia. 5 missiles were launched at the southeastern Ukrainian city, with one striking close to a residential building, shattering its windows. In recent weeks, Russia has resumed regular airstrikes on populous areas of Ukraine, including cities well beyond the front lines. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister has announced that his country has shipped 15 million metric tons of cargo through its Black Sea corridor since it was launched 5 months ago. 10 million tons consisted of agricultural products, which many countries rely on, especially in parts of Africa. The corridor was established in response to Russia's withdrawal from a 2022 UN-brokered Black Sea grain export agreement. Russia has also threatened to treat all vessels in the sea as potential military targets. As Britain grapples with the consequences of last week's devastating floods, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has defended his government's handling of the environmental disaster. More than 1,000 homes across England and Wales were flooded last week after severe rain. On Sunday, Prime Minister Sunak said $6.6 billion had been invested in flood defences. He added that more than 1,000 Environment Agency personnel were assisting local communities with the cleanup. The opposition Labour Party has accused the government of being asleep at the wheel, but Rishi Sunak says most houses have been protected.
Well, when it comes to flood defences in particular, we've invested £5.2 billion in flood defences over the period in question. That's a record sum, far more than we've done in the future. That's contributed to protecting over 300,000 homes. And of course, there have been many people affected by what's happened over the past week, but also 49,000 homes have been protected from flooding as a result of that investment, and also things like the pumps that I've been seeing here today and the flood barriers. Just in the community I've been walking around, hundreds of homes have been protected because of those investments.
5 people remain trapped in a cave in southwestern Slovenia, where they've been since Saturday, after heavy rainfall caused high water levels. A family of 3 and their 2 tour guides are stuck in the 8.2-kilometre-long Krizna Yama cave, which is only accessible by boat. Food, water and a heated tent have been delivered to the group by divers, who took several hours to reach them. A final rescue will require water levels to fall from where they currently are. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is heading to the United Kingdom on Monday for a 2-day visit. Accompanied by a high-level defence delegation, Minister Singh will hold a meeting with his UK counterpart, Secretary of State for Defence Grant Shapps. Discussions are expected to be held on a wide range of defence, security and industrial cooperation issues. The minister will also meet CEOs and leaders from the UK defence industry, as well as members of the Indian community. London Underground workers called off strikes that would have disrupted transport services in the British capital this week. According to their union, the strike was cancelled after progress in talks with operator Transport for London over a pay deal. The union is expecting a positive outcome, as TfL said the Mayor of London had provided additional funds to enable discussions with the workers. Some disruption to transport is still expected, as the strikes were called off late. Meanwhile, train drivers in Germany have announced that they will go on strike this week. Their union is pushing for fewer working hours and better wages for employees of the state-owned rail operator Deutsche Bahn. Train drivers in Germany work 38 hours a week, which the union wants reduced to 35 hours a week. Passenger transport services will be affected by strikes from Wednesday until Friday, with freight transport drivers walking out on Tuesday. The door of an Alaska Airlines Boeing jet has been found in a suburban backyard after it blew off the plane in mid-air. A resident of Portland in the state of Oregon reported that he had found the plug door, which was torn off the left side of the aircraft on Friday. The plane, traveling from Portland to Ontario, California, lost pressure, forcing the pilots to return it to the tarmac. All 171 passengers and 6 crew members on board were safe. The U.S. aviation regulator has grounded all Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes while it investigates the incident. The U.S. Transportation Safety Board thanked the person who found what it called the key missing component.
I know it's unusual to come back a second time, but I wanted to make sure that you had all this information real time. I'm excited to announce that we found the door plug. Woo! Thank you, Bob. Bob, I will not give you Bob's last name, but Bob contacted us at witness@ntsb.gov with 2 photos of the door plug and said he found it in his backyard.
And now to the 81st Golden Globe Awards. Succession, Oppenheimer and Barbie were the big winners on Sunday night. Let's take a look at Hollywood's celebration of the best in film and television.
The 81st Golden Globe Awards honored the best of television and film on Sunday in California's Beverly Hills. The star-studded ceremony brought celebrities together for the first time after 6 months of strikes by actors and writers in 2023. In television, HBO's Succession won 4 Golden Globes, including Best Drama Series.
This is really heavy. Thank you, Jesse, for casting me in this, and Francine for putting me in front of Jesse. And this show it's changed my life.
Netflix's Beef also made waves, winning Best Limited Series as well as Best Male and Female Performances for Stephen Yeun and Ali Wong. The Bear won the Best Comedy Series, while star Jeremy Allen White won Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Musical or Comedy category. In movies, Oppenheimer swept major categories including Best Motion Picture Drama. Christopher Nolan bagged Best Director for the film, while Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. won Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor, respectively.
I can only accept this on behalf of people. As directors, we bring people together and we try and get them to give of their best. And Robert, Cillian, my partner in crime of 20 years, Matt, wherever you went, and Florence and Emily, just the incredible work of our amazing crew.
Emma Stone was named Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Comedy or Musical for her performance in gothic comedy Poor Things. The honors for 81st Golden Globes were selected by a new group of 300 entertainment journalists from around the world, a move that followed heavy criticism around the voting panel's diversity and ethics. The Hollywood's annual award season will culminate with the Oscars on March 10, 2024. Akriti Bhandari for DD India.
That's it from me here in London. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Julia. Julia Chapman joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Taiwan detects 3 more Chinese balloons flying over a narrow strip of water that separates the island from mainland China. And India's Goa hosts the 2nd edition of International Purple Fest 2024. The first of its kind inclusive festival celebrates the talent of persons with disabilities.
We bring to you the legendary city of Ayodhya and tell you what makes Ayodhya everything that has got to do with the land of Lord Ram.
यहाँ रग रग में हर जगह राम ही है। सनातन धर्म के लिए तो गौरव की बात है। कण कण में भी भगवान राम की सत्ता का एहसास हमें होता है यदि हम लोग ध्यान से उसका अवलोकन करें। आज भी होता है।
This is 10th century old Hanumangari temple.
यहाँ हनुमान जी महाराज राजा के रूप में बैठे हैं। भारत की संस्कार संस्कृति मठ से, मंदिर से, साधु से, संत से, ऋषि से, मुनि से, महात्मा से जुड़ा हुआ है।
ये विष्णु का मस्तक है, तो यहाँ पे हर कण पावन है। यहाँ
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. Back to Asia. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina swept to a fourth straight term in power, with her party winning almost 75% of the seats in an election that was boycotted by the main opposition and drew a low turnout. Daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, founding father of Bangladesh, who was killed in an army coup in 1975, Sheikh Hasina first became Prime Minister in 1996. In her past 15 years in power, she has been credited with turning around the Bangladeshi economy. Speaking to media on Monday, Hasina said, "We consider India as our next-door neighbour." She said, "We really appreciate that we have a wonderful relationship with India."
India is a great friend of Bangladesh. 1971, they supported us, and also 75, they gave shelter to us, me and my sister and myself, and also other family members. So India, we consider our next door neighbor, and we have many problems, but we solve it through bilaterally. So I really appreciate that with neighbor we have wonderful relationship.
Taiwan detected 3 Chinese balloons flying over the Taiwan Strait. One of the balloons crossed over the southern tip of the island. Taiwan's defense ministry accused China of threatening its aviation safety and waging a psychological warfare with these balloons days before the 13th January presidential elections. Similar balloon activities were also observed in the Taiwan Strait last month. DD India's Patrick Falk has more from Singapore.
Well, it's difficult to say what China is trying to achieve precisely. Its defense ministry hasn't commented on the balloons, and to an extent it doesn't feel that it has to. As we know, China regards Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory. But this is certainly provocative, not just because it comes, as you say, just after the previous complaint was made over the spate of balloons it's spotted over the past month, but also, as you say as well, one of the 3 balloons that was spotted flew over the southern tip of the island. It didn't just fly over the median line, it flew over the actual island itself. And I think you've got to be looking at why this is happening. It's hard to say this isn't, as Taiwan argues, a part of psychological warfare by China ahead of this key vote on Saturday. And, you know, the 3 candidates vying for the presidency all offer a different version of the status quo, but Beijing regards the head of the DPP, the leading candidate of the DPP, and the party as separatists. It is, as I say, William Lai is leading the polls, as I say, and, you know, this is perhaps a message from China to say that, well, if he does win, then it is going to mean a continuation of tense relations between the 2 sides. But you may also make the argument that this could backfire for China because it is creating a lot of anger in Taiwan about Beijing's assertiveness. Yeah, there has been some interesting reaction because, you know, in the past, these balloons that have been spotted over the island, you know, we've heard from authorities in Taiwan suggesting that they appear to be weather balloons and to play down these balloons. But, you know, then we're getting this very strong reaction, as we've heard, threatening aviation and psychological warfare and all of that as we near the election. And you wonder whether or not this is because it is having an impact on the Taiwanese government. It may also arguably be trying to send a message to its people about, you know, what Beijing's intentions are, and also trying to highlight China's aggressiveness to voters as well. It's difficult to say whether or not that's the case, but certainly the response from Taiwan in recent days has been different to what we've seen in the past.
Now, India today summoned Maldives High Commissioner over remarks made by 3 of its ministers who have since been suspended. The top Maldivian diplomat in India was called to the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. The government of Maldives has said that it is aware of the derogatory remarks on social media platforms against foreign leaders and high-ranking individuals. It said that these opinions are personal and do not represent the views of the government of Maldives. It said in a statement that the government believes that the freedom of expression should be exercised in a democratic and responsible manner and in ways that do not spread hatred, negativity and hinder close relationships between Maldives and its international partners. The 3 suspended ministers are Mariam Shiuna, Malsha Sharif and Mehzoom Majid. These ministers were in the Maldivian Youth Ministry. Goa is hosting the second edition of the International Purple Fest 2024. The opening ceremony marked the launch of various initiatives by the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, as well as the government of Goa. The fest is aimed to showcase the talents of people with disabilities through engaging performances in music, dance and entertainment. And to tell us more about this International Purple Fest, we are now joined by Siddharth Bhardwaj. Siddharth, tell us what is special about this second edition of International Purple Fest?
Well, definitely a very good evening, Tanvi, and as you can see behind me, apart from me, everything is just purple here. I'm in Goa and it's International Purple Fest 2024, and this time around, this festival is going international. Last time when this fest happened, it was just, restricted to the country itself, but this time around, the outreach is exceptionally global. This is a fest, Tanvi, which is to honor persons with disabilities, because they are the persons, who are excelling in every department, who are excelling in science and technologies, be it business, be it sports. They are excelling in every field. So this is a very noble initiative which has been taken for them, for persons with disabilities, Tanvi. And now that the festival this time is going international, this will actually it's a very good initiative, because around 20 countries are participating in International Purple Fest. So that means sometime it may happen that some other country will copy this concept, and as I said, not just in India, but all around the world, persons with disabilities are just scaling new heights.
Yes, Siddharth, you've told us about how unique this festival is, as it's an inclusive one, celebrating the achievements and talents of people with disabilities. But why purple? Why has the fest been named purple?
Well, that's a very nice question, Tanvi. Purple is a color which, symbolizes courage, strength and freedom, and so do the persons with disabilities. And that's the reason why it's purple, purple and purple everywhere. The theme is purple. The volunteers, they are wearing purple jackets, and the theme has been kept purple to actually boost the morale of persons with disabilities, to tell them that you are excelling new heights, to make them realize that you are at par with able-bodied people. You are no less than anyone else in the entire world, which is further encouraging them, encouraging their morale. And like I said, it's a great initiative, and there are different competitions, Tanvi, happening here on different venues. And right behind me is the inauguration ceremony, which is happening. I'll take you right across after this bulletin. But right now, the inauguration ceremony is happening, and there are various categories in which these competitions are happening. For example, sports and cultural activities, arts and crafts, and for fun activities as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddharth. P for purple, P for power. More power to these purple ambassadors. Thank you very much for joining in. Siddharth Bhardwaj reporting to us from Goa. Now let's take a look at what else is happening around the world. The Balochistan diaspora have been staging protests outside the White House against Pakistan and the enforced disappearances of Baloch people, with one of the protesters being a Baloch individual.
Stop Baloch!
In New York, Mayor Eric Adam and Deputy Commissioner of International Affairs Dilip Chauhan attended the Mata Ki Chauki celebration in the city. Eric Adam wrote, "If we look at the Hindu community in New York, this is extremely important, as it gives Hindu community time to celebrate and lift up their spirituality." grand Pongal festival is currently being celebrated in Sri Lanka's Trincomalee. About 1,500 performers are taking part in the celebrations. This secular festival gives thanks to the sun and for the harvest and is marked by boiling milk and rice called the Pongal in a clay pot, often accompanied by various other treats and seasonal fruits. So with those Pongal festivities from Sri Lanka, we wind up this edition of DD India Global. Do join us for another edition of the show at 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram at DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.